An American tourist in Sydney demanded the barista remake his flat white because it didn't have enough foam. The barista stared at him for 3 full seconds, then explained in the most patient voice that a flat white doesn't have foam. That's literally the entire point of ordering a flat white instead of a cappuccino. If you notice how every one of these stories reveals more about culture than coffee, you're exactly the kind of person this channel was built for. Most people just laugh. You actually get it. Subscribe, and you'll never see travel the same way again. The guy insisted he gets flat whites in America all the time with foam. The barista said, "That's just a latte then, mate." He left a 1-star review saying, "Australian baristas are undertrained in proper coffee foam distribution techniques." A woman at Bondi Beach tried to sue the council because the sand was too sandy. She claimed the fine grain size was different from American beaches and caused her specialized dermis irritation syndrome. She presented a comparison chart showing California beach sand particles versus Sydney sand particles under a microscope. When the council explained they cannot change the geological composition of naturally occurring sand, she suggested they import American sand and replace the top layer. She was genuinely confused why this wasn't already standard practice for international beaches. A dad at a Brisbane zoo complained that the kangaroos weren't hopping enough. He said his kids paid good money to see authentic Australian wildlife performing natural behaviors on demand. When the zookeeper explained that kangaroos hop when they need to move somewhere, and currently they're just relaxing in the shade, he offered to pay extra for premium hopping demonstrations. He pulled out his wallet and asked what the kangaroo activation fee was. This is where it hits you. I don't just tell travel stories. I decode national psychology. Most creators react. I research. If you value that difference, you already know what to do. Tuts, zookeeper told him they don't take bribes on behalf of marsupials. An American family in Melbourne demanded their Airbnb host remove the huntsman spider from their bedroom ceiling immediately, or provide a full refund. The host explained it's just a harmless huntsman. They eat the actual dangerous spiders, and most Australians consider them free pest control. The mother screamed that she has arachnid proximity anxiety, and the spider's leg span exceeds her comfort threshold of 2 inches. She tried to book a hotel and leave a review saying the listing failed to disclose active wildlife infestations. The huntsman is still there and now has a name. A tourist in Perth reported a restaurant to health authorities because they served him beetroot on his burger. He claimed this was food tampering because beetroot is not a recognized burger ingredient in America, and he has geographical taste bud alignment that only processes familiar flavor profiles. The health inspector had to explain that beetroot on burgers is standard in Australia and not a violation of any code. He demanded they mark it as an allergen. They added a note to the menu saying contains Australian ingredients. A woman at Cairns Airport security had a meltdown because they made her throw away her unopened water bottle. She insisted that in America, she's a Platinum Executive Diamond Rewards member, and that status grants her liquid exemption privileges internationally through reciprocal agreements. When security explained that's not how any of this works anywhere, she demanded to speak to the Prime Minister. She actually tried to call the emergency number to report discrimination against premium frequent flyers. They missed their flight while she was on hold with the police non-emergency line. An American couple in Tasmania complained to parks and wildlife that the wombats were too fat and clearly being overfed by park rangers. They claimed this was animal abuse and the wombats needed to be put on diet plans immediately. When told that wombats are naturally barrel-shaped and muscular, the wife said she's a certified animal wellness intuitive and can sense their metabolic distress from their auras. She offered to stay for 3 months to implement a proper wombat fitness program. She brought resistance bands and everything. A dad at the Gold Coast demanded the ocean be closed because the waves were too aggressive for his son who has aquatic motion sensitivity disorder. He said California waves are smaller and more considerate of beginners. When the lifeguard explained they cannot control the ocean or predict wave patterns, he asked who's in charge of ocean regulation in Australia. He wanted to file a formal complaint with the Department of Beach Safety. The lifeguard pointed at the ocean and said that bloke there, "Good luck with your meeting." A tourist in the outback called emergency services because she saw a wild camel and thought it escaped from a zoo. She was screaming that a dangerous exotic animal was loose and threatening public safety. When police explained that Australia has wild camel populations that have been here since the 1800s, she accused them of lying because camels are from deserts, and Australia is not a desert. They told her to look around at the red dirt and spinifex for about 5 seconds. She hung up, insisting this was a government cover-up of illegal camel trafficking. An American woman in Adelaide reported a cafe to Consumer Protection because they charged her for extra soy milk. She said in Seattle all milk alternatives are free because lactose intolerance is a protected dietary class, and charging extra is discrimination. The cafe owner explained this is Australia, and they charge for premium ingredients. She tried to pay with American dollars because she believed exchange rate laws meant they had to accept them. When they said they only take Australian currency, she accused them of nationalism. She's still arguing about it in the Google reviews from 3 years ago. A family at the Great Barrier Reef demanded the boat turn around because the water was too blue, and it was giving their daughter chromatic overstimulation syndrome. The mother explained their daughter's eyes are calibrated for murky brown lake water from Michigan, and the clarity was causing her visual processing cortex to overload. She brought a doctor's note written on hotel stationery in her own handwriting. When the tour guide refused to end the trip early, she demanded they provide sunglasses that make everything look more like Detroit. She rated them 1 star for insufficient water turbidity options. A man in Sydney tried to tip his Uber driver $50 in cash and got offended when the driver said it wasn't necessary. He insisted that refusing a tip is actually insulting in American culture, and the driver was being rude by not accepting his generosity. When the driver explained Australians don't really do tipping culture, he said that's because Australians don't understand proper service industry economics. He left the cash on the seat anyway and wrote a review saying the driver was too proud to accept help. The driver bought lunch for his whole family with it and sent a thank you text, dripping with sarcasm. A woman at a Darwin market had a breakdown because the prices weren't in American dollars. She genuinely believed that tourist areas were required to display dual currency pricing. When the vendor said she could just use the exchange rate on her phone, she claimed she has financial conversion dyslexia and cannot mentally process foreign monetary systems. She tried to pay with a credit card and got angry when it worked perfectly fine. She wanted a refund because the transaction didn't feel foreign enough. The vendor told her to go to a bank and trade some cash if she wanted the full cultural experience of holding colorful plastic money. An American dad at Uluru complained that the rock was too red, and not the majestic purple-brown he saw in photos online. He accused the tourism board of false advertising through photo manipulation. When told that different lighting conditions and camera settings affect color appearance, he said he has hyperchromatic authenticity standards and can detect digital color enhancement with his eyes. He demanded they either repaint the rock or refund his flights. The ranger suggested he come back at sunset when it turns more purple. He called it a scheduling scam designed to sell more tour tickets. A tourist in Hobart reported a restaurant for serving her lunch at 1 p.m. when she ordered it at 12:45 p.m. She has temporal precision anxiety, and the ED 15-minute delay threw off her circadian eating rhythm for the entire day. She brought a printout of American restaurant timing statistics showing average wait times are 12 minutes. When the manager explained they were completely slammed and 15 minutes is actually fast, she said that's not her problem, and they should have hired more staff specifically for her unexpected visit. She tried to deduct 15% from her bill to compensate for her disrupted metabolic schedule. A family in Canberra demanded their hotel provide American-style electrical outlets because their son's gaming laptop has geographically locked voltage requirements and his neural pathways are synchronized with 110-volt power frequency. The dad claimed that 240-volt electricity runs through the circuits too fast and causes his son's reflexes to lag in competitive gaming. When the front desk offered a power adapter, he said adapters don't preserve the authentic American electrical wavelength patterns. He asked if they could run a special 110-volt line to his room. The engineer laughed for a solid minute before saying, "Absolutely not." A woman at a Woolworths in Brisbane complained that they don't have the same chip flavors as America, and limiting her options was a form of cultural suppression. She said she has flavor profile geographic dependency, and her taste buds only recognize brands from her home state. When staff suggested she try Australian chips, she said she's allergic to unfamiliar seasoning blends. She demanded they stock her preferred American brands. The manager explained that's not how international grocery distribution works. She bought 12 bags of chicken salt chips and left a review saying they forced her to eat foreign food against her dietary nationalism rights. An American couple in the Whitsundays threatened to sue their resort because the staff kept saying mate and calling them mate, and this was unprofessional. Workplace terminology that violated hospitality industry formality standards. They claimed that in proper American customer service, guests are addressed as sir and madam exclusively. When the resort manager explained that mate is standard Australian-friendly terminology and not disrespectful, they accused the entire staff of insubordination through excessive casualness. They demanded everyone receive mandatory American customer service training. The staff started calling them mate even more frequently and with increasing enthusiasm. They checked out early and wrote that Australian hospitality lacks proper hierarchy respect. Protocols, a dad at a Sydney aquarium insisted his daughter be allowed to touch the sharks in the touch tank for more than the posted 2-minute limit because she has tactile learning supremacy syndrome and requires extended hands-on time to absorb educational content properly. He brought a laminated certificate he made at Kinko's listing her condition. When staff explained the time limit prevents overcrowding and shark stress, he offered to pay a premium touching fee for VIP shark access. He suggested they create a luxury tier where his daughter could have private shark time. They told him the sharks don't have a pricing system, and he should probably just move along now, mate. A woman in Fremantle called the police because a shop owner called her love, and she interpreted this as sexual harassment through unauthorized terms of endearment. She said in America, only romantic partners use that word, and the shopkeeper was clearly making unwanted advances by greeting her with hello love. When police explained it's just Australian slang equivalent to saying hi there or hello friend, she accused them of enabling a culture of forced linguistic intimacy. She demanded the shopkeeper be required to use only her legal first name or the gender-neutral term customer. The shopkeeper now greets her with, "G'day, you absolute legend," every time she walks past, and she's never sure if it's sincere. A family at Phillip Island Penguin Parade demanded the penguins come out earlier because their daughter's bedtime is 7 p.m. and the sunset timing was inconsistent with her sleep schedule needs. The mother explained that her daughter has circadian wildlife expectations, and seeing animals only at their natural active times was discriminatory against children with early bedtimes. When rangers explained the penguins come ashore at dusk for biological reasons beyond human control, she suggested they install artificial lighting to trick the penguins into coming earlier. She brought a petition with 8 signatures from her family members. The penguins continue to operate on penguin time and remain unbothered by American scheduling preferences. N. American tourist in the Blue Mountains reported the Echo Point lookout to accessibility authorities because the view was too far away and required her to focus her eyes on distant objects, which triggers her depth perception fatigue syndrome. She claimed that proper tourist attractions should be within 10 meters for optimal viewing comfort. When told the whole point is seeing mountains in the distance, she suggested they install telescopes that make everything look closer. She brought her own binoculars, but said they didn't count because she shouldn't have to provide her own distance correction equipment. She wanted a refund for having to use her own eye muscles to see natural landmarks. A man at a Bondi cafe lost his mind because the staff didn't laugh at his joke about Australians talking upside down. He has performance anxiety disorder and requires positive social feedback when attempting humor in foreign countries. When the barista just smiled politely and made his coffee, he accused her of cultural insensitivity for not appreciating his geographical comedy efforts. He claimed that in America, service workers are required to laugh at customer jokes as part of hospitality standards. He wrote a review saying Australian baristas lack proper joke appreciation training protocols. Every American who reads it cringes directly into their own soul. Deed, woman at Melbourne Airport. Customs spent 40 minutes arguing that her emotional support peacock should be allowed into the country because it's technically a service bird. She said the peacock helps with her fear of flying and also her anxiety about being in the Southern Hemisphere for the first time. When Customs explained Australia has strict biosecurity laws and absolutely no peacocks can enter without months of quarantine, she accused them of discrimination against alternative therapy animals. She tried to register it as a religious comfort creature. They denied her entry with the peacock, and she had to fly home alone while her peacock went into agricultural detention. She maintains to this day that Australia is prejudiced against bird-based mental health treatment methods.